outfit prepared for 210 miles. In Cleveland, they're ready to rock and roll.
Energy car remains. Back where it comes Cleveland rocks.
Cleveland rock.
Cleveland rock. Cleveland rock.
It's Cleveland, Ohio, the home of rock and roll. We're at the Burt Lakefront Airport as the CART FedEx Championship Series is ready to go racing in the Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland. Hi and welcome you. I know I said an airport. Don't shrug that off. This airport produces some of the best racing in this series.
And this airport circuit is wide. It ranges from between 75 to 150 feet in width. That's over 3 times the width of a normal road course. It's produced some great wheel-to-wheel, side-by-side racing action in the past. The track is also very bumpy, and it'll take its toll on these drivers and equipment before the checkered flag flies.
Let's get you right down to Gary Gerald.
Paul, the great width of this airport layout always makes for one of the most anticipated starts anywhere in the championship circuit. At Cleveland, you never quite know what's going to happen going into turn 1. And for the first time in his Champ Car career, Roberto Moreno, who is also the championship points leader, is going to be the man who dictates the pace and takes the field into turn 1. By 900ths of a second, he topped Ferran. So the Penske team that's won 3 of the last 4 is right alongside in row number 1. It's gonna be good. Let's go to Jan Veikkaus.
And Gary, some last-minute drama for both Michael Andretti.
Well, there is Michael Andretti. Jan Veikkaus wanted to report that he had an engine change just before the start of this race. His teammate, Christian Fittipaldi, had to change engines as well. They had an oil leak during the morning warm-up session. Now let's take a look at the starting grid for the race today. Roberto Moreno was ecstatic after finishing second at Portland and taking the point lead. Today he hopes to increase that lead. He starts on the pole. Gilles de Ferran will start alongside. Now de Ferran is on a roll, winning 2 of the last 3 races. He also won this race in 1996. The second row, Mauricio Gugelmin and Michael Andretti. Michael has climbed to 4th in the championship and is the 91 Cleveland winner. In row 3, Cristiano de Matta and the defending series champion Juan Montoya. He has only 1 win though in 2000, but he is the defending champion here at Cleveland. Brian Herta is inside row 4. Dario Franchitti is on the outside of the 4th row. Adrian Fernandez and Penske driver Elio Castroneves make up row 5. Rookie Oriol Servia and Jimmy Vasser make up the 6th row. In row 7, it's Christian Fittipaldi. Max Pappas will start to the outside. The 8th row, Kenny Breck and Mark Blundell. In row number 9, Paul Tracy and Alex Tagliani. Tracy hasn't scored a championship point since Nazareth, but today he starts 17th. He won Long Beach from 17th. Patrick Carpentier and Michel Jourdain Jr. make up the 10th row. The 11th row, Shinji Nakano and Norberto Fontana. In row 12, Tarso Marquez and Luis Garcia Jr. And alone in the 13th row is Takuya Kurosawa. The race, 100 laps, 210.6 miles around this 2.1 mile temporary circuit. We'll take a look at the circuit here, Parker Johnstone.
The principal passing area is heading down into turn 1. It's 100 feet wide. The drivers break from 180 to 50 miles per hour. Also look for some action back in this long sweeping carousel 6, 7, and 8 section where the drivers are pulling a sustained 3 Gs. We've had action there all race weekend long.
And there is a big change for the start of this race. There is the straightaway. It's 100 feet wide, leading to the first turn. But see those 3 sets of cones? That's the change.
What they're trying to do is to prevent a first lap incident. Now, we had a first lap, first corner last week at Portland where some of the cars got together. This week, they're trying to prevent that. After the start, those 3 sets of cones will be removed.
Here are the onboards that we have for you today. Riding as always with Mark Blundell. Max Pappas, he'll be back starting 14th. Juan Montoya. always exciting, especially to watch him over these bumps here. He starts 6th. Mauricio Gugelmin had a great qualifying, and he will start 3rd. The front row, of course, sits just ahead of him. Roberto Moreno, his first full position. Gil de Ferran will start alongside. Because they have their choice on the road circuit, Moreno has chosen to start on the right-hand side as the drivers approach the line. The field through the final 2 corners. Now they are on to that long straightaway that is the main straight. And now we'll see how the cone idea is going to work out. Green flag comes out. They spread wide. Into the corner. And 1 spin already.
Looks like Fernandez got into the back of Matta there.
Oh, cars all over the place. So whatever they were thinking of, it doesn't look like it's worked. Cristiano Matta hits the power and spins the car around. There is Tarso Marquez. It's Michel Jourdain Jr. Takuya Kurosawa. And that looks like it may be Cinching Takano with his back to us. So the car safety team already right on top of the situation. Parker, that's just exactly what they didn't want.
Well, they were trying to eliminate one problem. I think they've created another one. Just as they passed the cones, it looks like it was Michel Jourdain Jr. there. Yes, it was. No, I think that was Adrian Fernandez ducked around the inside last cone, drove straight to the inside. Watch here as they come down in this area. Watch those cars. They drive straight for the inside. Now, Mauricio Gugelmin's going to have contact as they come around the inside apex. So we can see the hit there between, it looked like Dara Franchitti, Cristiano Matta. Fernandez gets through cleanly there, and he's away.
Looking on board from Montoya. This should actually be ahead of a good deal of it, but he sees what's going on, says, I'm not going to have any part of that.
Montoya just runs out of room going through that first corner and has to evade going to the grass. Yeah, and that was Fernandez, Paul, that got into the back of Matta. I had another look at it. He was able to continue, but he started the rotation, getting into the back of the right rear of Cristiano Matta.
Max Pappas and Elio Castroneves have just made it into the pits. Others, in fact, they're ahead of them, so there is some damage on several cars that would now have to be attended to. Of course, we are under a full course caution.
Time, do it right here. It didn't touch anything, it was a manhole.
So the discussion with Max Pappas, Elio Castroneves, they're going to change the nose on that car, and hopefully with a big circuit here, everyone will have plenty of time to get repairs made. We'll be back.
Combat Rangers. They're rough, they're tough, they're battle-tested. They're lean, mean fighting machines. When there's a battle to be won, Combat Rangers get the job done. Making backyards safe for democracy.
Now, tell me why they're wearing dresses?
The commander uniforms didn't arrive from China. That's because you picked the wrong shipping company.
Next time, use the only U.S. Express shipper with direct routes from China. FedEx, be absolutely sure.
Matching night vision tiara sold separately.
Introducing the nothing in the world like it new Ford Explorer Sport Track. As essential as gear gets. From Ford Outfitters. Outfitting you with the most far-reaching sport utilities on Earth. Ford Outfitters. No boundaries.
Hello?
Indy winners demand one thing, great performance. But then, so do you. That's why Firestone introduces the Firehawk SS20 with Unity for road-hugging stability, nimble handling, and great traction, especially in the wet. All of which reflects very well on its owner. The Firehawk SS20 with Unity Ultimate Tire Technology from Firestone. Firehawk, born at Indy, performs everywhere.
The
Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland on ABC Sports. Brought to you by FedEx, proud sponsor of the FedEx Championship Series. Ford Outfitters, no boundaries. And Brewery Fresh Budweiser, official beer of CART. This Bud's for you.
Welcome back to the Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland. Paul Page, Parker Johnstone, Gary Gerald, and Jan Veikkaus are in the pits. We are under full course caution, and the reason for that is the very first turn. All of these cars were involved in an incident. Now, you see Cinching Takano trying to limp back into the pits. A number of others have. And, Parker, you've had a better chance to look at it now.
We had a number of different cars involved in a number of different incidents. One was Brian Herta coming down between Franchitti and we'll see it here in just a moment as they get in. Watch as we come down. You'll see in this area, watch Brian Herta try to get in between Franchitti and Matta. At the same time, Adrian Fernandez is coming down the inside. You saw the hit there. That started the inside. That got Matta rotated, which is where Fernandez had contact. Then watch here. Watch the crash that happens there. The contact that happens slightly there, once again, with the front of Matta's car. And then also the incident that happened here. So we had a number of different accidents happening simultaneously.
We can give you the view, too, a little further back in the field from Max Pappas. He goes under the green flag.
Max started back in 14th place, starts to go inside, says, oh, forget this, I'm just going to stay out here. And like Montoya says, the grass is the only place to go without encountering another car.
We also have it. Now look at that, though. He misses everything else, and then he gets into one of the signs just laying on the ground. This is Mark Blundell, a little further back.
Mark Blundell back in 16th, comes down the inside. That's Matta in front of him, just misses there, gets back on the throttle.
Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Elio Castroneves came in, Paul. They put a new nose and nose wing assembly on the car, gave him 4 sets of tires. He went out, reported the car had big oversteer. He's just brought it back into the pits, and they've shut down the engine. And he's getting out of the car. He is finished. We'll try to get a word with him in just a moment. Great disappointment for the guy who got his emotional first victory a few weeks ago at Detroit. Let's go to Jan.
And Gary, from Max Pappas, we saw him get off the course and clip that debris. He has since been on pit road. They have changed the nose. It took 2 stops, but he did not lose a lap, and he has a brand new nose. Everything else should be okay for Pappas.
And you know, actually, those that went off course were pretty lucky. Parker and I were both on the race course last night. There's been some heavy rain here on Thursday and Friday, and a lot of that is still very muddy, and the fact that they got back on the course, well, that was very lucky. We'll be back.
Introducing the Live Life on the Edge side of Ford Outfitters. Outfitting you with the most far-reaching sport utilities on Earth. Ford Outfitters, no boundaries. There it is.
Let's go. On the left.
Want to get the coolest stuff in the world? Go to Miller's Get the Goods online auction. Find tons of cool stuff. Plus a chance to help a charity. Details at MillerGetTheGoods.com and wherever you buy Miller Lite.
Don't wait up.
When you've been fortunate to achieve in life, it's important to share that success with others. I feel strongly about that. I believe the folks at Target stores do too. When they talk to me about kids fighting cancer at the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and the idea of building a place for families to stay, I knew it needed to happen. Today, Target House is real. A success story from a store that donates over $1 million a week back to the community. Sharing success is something I admire.
Now you can receive a short text message over the internet. Then send back an answer. Or simply type in one of your own. Introducing two-way internet messaging, only from Nextel.
the putt. The hole-in-one. The slice. ABC Sports takes you there. Next, the final round of the Cannon Greater Hartford Open.
Indy 500 winner Juan Montoya faces some of kart's best at the Michigan 500, including Paul Tracy and Jimmy Vasser. July 23rd on ABC. This Wide World of Sports update brought to you by Mobile One. Nothing outperforms Mobile One.
Back in Cleveland, this Mobile One update deals with an incident that took place in the streets of Detroit a couple of races back when Tony Kanaan was injured. 4 broken ribs, compound fracture of his left arm. Today he's back at the racetrack for the very first time, watching Brian Herta drive the car for Morris Nunn. He says his rehabilitation is coming along well. He is targeting the Michigan 500 in a couple of weeks as his return to racing action. But for the first time in 17 years, Tony Kanaan said it is absolutely brutal to be at a racetrack and not be in the seat of a race car. Now, under yellow here at Cleveland because of an incident on the opening lap. Elio Castroneves was involved. It looked like you got hit more than one time. Was it a problem and damage to the radiator? What put you out?
Yeah, that's unfortunately, I believe on the second hit, I don't know, I was hitting so many times, and on the second one, I think one of the front wings, the other car, just hit and make a hole on the radiator, and there was a very short life for us.
Is this business with the cones restricting somewhat the racetrack, good or bad, for the start of this race in your mind?
I mean, they're saying we are professional drivers, so I don't see any problem to have no cones over there, because if we are professional drivers, we know how to make the business.
All right, let's go to Jan Beekes.
And Oriol Servia was also involved. He's out of the car. What put you out?
Well, I exactly don't know. A lot of things happened. I think we got there all together, and first they hit me from behind, and then I was trying to turn, still moving, and I saw Dario spun. I thought he was stopped, so I tried to turn, but he was still moving, and we touched, and then the race was over.
And guys, I know we're getting ready to go green, but prior, he is not happy at all about those cones.
Well, as a result of that, we're going to take a look at this. Norberto Fontana, who started almost all the way in the back of the field. Well, there was some impacts there that were a little harder than you could tell from the high camera. We're ready to go green once again. Castroneves, Servia, Jourdain Jr., Takuya Kurosawa, and Tarso Marquez are all out of competition. Roberto Moreno leads them toward the green flag. Single file now.
And this time they get to use all 100 feet of racetrack. Those cones for the start have been picked up.
And this time cleanly through the first turn. The field now begins acceleration, 175 feet wide. Look at Gilles de Ferran as he works on Mauricio Gugelmin. Grabs second.
Great move there. Gilles came off the first corner with a little bit more speed, drafted up behind Mauricio, ducked inside. Very nice pass.
A little further back, Michael Andretti now makes his move, almost loses it. Gugelmin comes back at him, but Michael Andretti holds on to it. So Michael Andretti comes up.
And that's the beauty of this circuit. You can just get a flying run down the inside, and you've got plenty of room to make a pass. If it doesn't quite work out, chances are you can still recover and keep it on the racing surface.
Remember, too, in Michael Andretti's car, that is a new engine. They had a problem during the warm-up this morning, and they changed engines for both Michael and for Christian Fittipaldi. On board, Mark Blundell, Kenny Brack just ahead.
We've got lots of guys who got tied up in the back who are making their way quickly to the front. One of the most notable winners after that first course melee was Paul Tracy, who went from 17th to 6th position. We're going to keep track of Matta and some of the other guys at the back that are coming forward quickly. Adrian
Fernandez gets around Gugelmin as well. Now you have to begin to wonder if there isn't something wrong with Mauricio Gugelmin's car. Paul Tracy right behind Gugelmin now, made some great moves on the start, moved up 11 positions. There are the cars on the move, upper left-hand corner of your screen. Of course, a lot of that just a result of the accident and cars out. Though most of the cars that are out were further back in the field.
Now what Paul wanted to do coming down this back straightaway is set him up coming through this very quick right-left chicane right here, and then outbrake him going into turn one. Paul's got it perfectly set up. See if he'll duck to the inside here.
Very easily, Tracy takes over 5th from Mauricio Gugelmin. Jimmy Vasser is now closing on Mauricio Gugelmin.
Need to think about field position when you can.
Barry Green talking to Paul Tracy, telling him to back off the fuel if possible.
Of course, that possibility, that's the hard part. You're in a race, you want to go as hard as you can. You really don't want to turn the fuel to a leaner setting, to a different mapping, because then you can't be quite as aggressive. Isn't that right, Jan?
Yes, that is true, Paul. And one thing, I spoke with a lot of the crews. They said this race would be dictated by Bob. They're talking about Roberto Moreno. They say if he got to the first turn first, as good as he is on fuel, everybody else would have to follow his strategy and try and save fuel. They said if we beat Bob to the first corner, there'll be a different story. But right now, he's streaking away.
Bob's very definitely in the driver's seat. Just remember back, those of you that joined us just a week ago at Portland, he was able to stretch a good 2.5, 3 laps easily beyond the rest of the field before he had to refuel. Gerald.
We also talked with Ed Nathman, of course, who heads up this Patrick team here, and Roberto Moreno about this fuel consumption business coming in. And he said one of the things that you have to remember is that on many street circuits or temporary circuits, the leader can dictate how things go. But here with the wide open spaces, it's not easy to control a race. That led me to believe that rather than try to conserve fuel, they may have Roberto just run for it, make it a 2 stops and a splash for a 3rd stop later on. We'll see how that all unfolds.
On board Mark Blundell. He sits 12th. There comes Tracy in the remainder of the field. For Roberto Moreno, his first pole, but the 5th race that Roberto has led this year. Got a good glimpse of Dario Franchitti as well. Franchitti, with that incident, dropped back to 13th place. Montoya now on the move up to 9th. The defending race and series champion, car number 1.
You can see Franchitti pounding the back of Blundell there as Blundell is trying to get the attention of Alex Tagliani just in front of him, bobbing to the right and to the left, trying to disrupt his concentration.
That blue and white car of Tagliani. He's a rookie this year over as a champion out of the Toyota Atlantic Series. Had a chance to win 2 different races. He's incredibly fast. Montoya.
Hunting Christian Fittipaldi here. Going to want to try to do the same thing that Tracy did a little earlier. Get a good run down this straightaway where they're just at 180 miles an hour, the fastest point on the circuit. Get a good run out of the chicane, just over 110 miles an hour here. Get up right behind him, drafting down to the last possible moment, then pop out and try to outbrake him. But he's not going to do it. Christian Fittipaldi very late, very hard on the brakes.
Moreno still the leader. The field begins to stretch out. Mauricio Gugelmin, whatever it might have been that caused him to fall backwards, and there goes the move. As Franchitti now around Blundell. Mauricio Gugelmin fell backwards from 3rd position all the way back to 6th. Whoa, you talk about smoking the brakes, and Blundell is going to go off course and hopefully get a turn before. Nope.
Oh, and you can see he got his hands off the wheel just before he hit so that he didn't injure his wrists or hands.
And that brings out the full course caution once again. Those tires front a concrete barrier, and Blundell went head on into that. Now, why don't we see a turn? Is it because he's off on wet grass?
Well, he got a great run coming off of Dario after Dario had passed him going into turn 3. Mark got a later apex, a better exit coming off of 4. Started to go down the inside of Dario into turn 5. We'll watch it here. Now watch the brakes lock up. Dario gets in there really deep, just locks him up, so does Mark. Mark's off on the dirty part of the race course, and then once he gets in the grass, he can't get the front tires to roll in order to turn. Now watch the brakes lock here. He's got to avoid Dario as Dario takes his line, and once he's in the grass, he's got his foot on the brake there, and if the wheels are locked, they don't turn.
Another angle yet from high above to Matta. You see him moving down along the inside as Blundell goes head on. Pretty frightening moment.
Now watch, Dario will lock him first because he goes in so deep, and a moment later, Mark has to lock them. He locks the brakes to avoid, and he's trying to steer this thing, and now he's just on the brakes going, oh no!
And wisely pulls his hands off of the wheel. That keeps you from ending up with a broken thumb. So, second full course caution of the day with Roberto Moreno as the leader, 12 laps complete. We'll be back after these messages and a word from our ABC stations.
For years, Honda engineers have developed the ultimate in racing technology. Innovations that have brought the manufacturers championships, the respect of the entire racing world, and of course, rupees.
In the heart of an Alaskan winter.
Whatever happens, I'll protect you.
How long could you survive?
This country's brutal. Denise and I know what we'll be facing.
Without food.
It's about survival now. We have to eat.
Without shelter.
Shouldn't be out here. There's a storm coming.
Charms Alyssa Milano. Based on a true story. Of two people who discovered the strength.
We can't walk, then we'll crawl.
To fight for life, no matter what the cost. To Brave Alaska, ABC tonight.
Need tires? Come to Strauss Discount Auto Service Centers, where you'll find the largest selection anywhere. Right now, you can get 4 new 35,000-mile passenger car radios for just $99 with free installation. Need them now? Need them quick? Strauss is open evenings and weekends 7 days a week. Strauss Discount Auto. We keep you driving.
141. 2 years ago, my game was going nowhere. I had dropped all the way to 141 in the world. For someone else, that might just have been a number. But for me, it became a fixation. 140, 141.
When you're ready to look out for number one, Twin Lab will show you how. With innovative sports nutrition, vitamin, and herbal formulas that help turn who you were into who you are.
Now, I'm at the top of my game again, and I've got another number I'm fixated on.
Twin Lab. Answers for life.
It's the Volkswagen High Performance Driving School. Want to go? Buy or lease a new Jetta 1.8T during the month of July, and you're in.
David Duchovny, Gloria Estefan, and Kevin James on Live.
Back at Cleveland, the Marconi Grand Prix, and we've just taken the green flag once again as Roberto Moreno led the field into turn one. Ferran's right behind him. Michael Andretti and Ferran both working as hard as they can, but already Moreno begins to stretch out a lead. Believe it or not, in the time we were away, Mark Blundell was into the pits, had repairs, and is back into the competition.
We saw Fittipaldi go down the inside of Gugelmin down into turn one, and we see Paul Tracy working very hard on the back of Adrian Fernandez.
Jan Vika's Pac West team did a marvelous job.
They certainly did. First of all, for Mauricio Gugelmin, you were asking if he had a problem. I spoke with John Anderson. He said, for some reason, we're just slow on the straight. And as you documented, a very quick nose change for Mark Blundell.
Mac Pappas quick off and on the course. He was in the pits during that yellow. So was Cinching, Takano, Brian Herta, and Jimmy Vasser. They all made pit stops on the 13th lap. Gary Gerald.
Quick update on the fuel situation, even though it's this early in this race for Roberto Moreno. We were speculating on the theory. We were told by the team that during that yellow, their target was 97.5 laps, they thought, for a two-stop race. They've got enough yellow now. They think it might just slip them over the edge. It's going to be very, very close, but they are in the window possibly where they can do it on two stops, thanks to that little incident there by Blundell.
And as already pointed out, Moreno is very good at racing fast and still saving fuel, and pretty tough to catch. He has the added incentive of having never won in this series. He's got his first pole. He finished second a week ago at Portland. And the likable young man from Brazil may, in fact, young man, oldest driver in the series at 41, may in fact be on his way to his first win, but there's a long, long way to go. Ferran sits in second place. Here he comes, followed by Michael Andretti. Michael mounted an early challenge on the restart, but wasn't able to carry it through.
Plus 1.3, plus 1.3.
Roger Penske on the telephone to Ferran. We look down here from the Honda Helicam. Burke Lakefront Airport, active runways and taxiways all of the year except for this one weekend. A little right then left flick brings them back on to the front stretch. They pass in front of the pits. There's Montoya. He's 7th. Slowly trying to work his way up. And Paul Tracy with Christian Fittipaldi right behind him. Tracy started 17th, now 5th.
Take him out a little left field if you can. I know it's tough, but remember, overtake always helps you out.
Once again, the caution. Barry Green in the pits. Overtake, he's talking about the famous button.
Drivers have a button on the steering wheel so that no matter what fuel-saving conservation mode they're in, if they push that button, it advances the ignition timing in the engine, puts it to full power, full fuel, as long as they're full throttle. As soon as they lift, it goes out of overtake mode and goes back to whatever previous fuel strategy they had dialed in on their wheel.
The yellow and white number 8 shell car, that's Kenny Brack. Rookie here, leading the rookie points fight, in fact. Luis Garcia Jr. with a pretty serious problem in the engine room. He's out of the car and therefore out of competition. Tracy's still trying to work his way forward. The Ford engines in both that car, Christian Fittipaldi, and a little further forward in third place, Michael Andretti, appear to be working just fine. They, of course, had an oil leak in the morning warm-up, and they had to scrap much of the warm-up and go change engines. And Jan Veikkaus, that meant that they didn't necessarily get all the tires ready that they wanted.
No, that is true, Paul, but I believe that they've been able to go back to some tires that they used in practice so they don't have to put brand new sticker tires on during the race. The specific cause of the oil leak, according to Ford Cosworth, is that there is a seal in the oil pump itself that is leaking. They're not sure what's causing it, but they changed both the engines for those cars, as you said, and they were very worried those first couple laps because, again, they don't know what caused it.
Now, there's no indication that they would be having that problem now, but then again, we might not be able to see such a thing. I think the first way it would appear to us if some of that oil began to spray at the back of the car and create a little fume of vapor, or if it would get off onto the hot exhaust pipes and we'd see a little smoke.
Well, the other thing that I'm sure we'll see in the final stages of this race is this track is so bumpy that it puts a premium on gearboxes, half shafts, engines, anything bolted to the car that can be rattled or shaken loose. Usually with 10-15 laps to go, there's usually a dramatic change in the complexion of this race as mechanical parts start to shut off these cars.
You can actually see how rough this course is. Of course, that's exactly what everybody expects when they come here. It is, after all, an airport. Parker drove around it quite a bit, and it's pretty amazing how bumpy it is. It's hard to believe the cars are going over this at 150, 160, 70, 180 miles an hour.
Well, last night when you and I drove around the circuit a few times, if you can feel the big bumps we did in our rental car, imagine how bumpy it is in these very stiffly sprung, very low cars. The drivers come away from this weekend with bruised heels, bruised backs, bruised elbows from the pounding they take during the 100 laps they race here.
We were talking about Kenny Brack as we looked for this man, Cristiano de Matta, who was part of that tangle on the very first lap with Franchitti right behind him and working. Franchitti also involved in that. But Kenny Brack has had a pretty expensive year for car owners Bobby Rahal and Dave Letterman. Seems like almost every race he's had some contact with a wall, including here. But when you're talking suspension parts and pieces of carbon fiber, it gets pretty expensive pretty quick.
And I talked to their team manager, Scott Remke, and he told me, he said, well, at least when Kenny's gone off, he's one of the quickest in the session going for the pole, or at least at the front of the race. So they say for now, that's acceptable, but at some point it's got to change.
I'll tell you what, as we watch Breck try to move on Mauricio Gugelmin, he doesn't seem to recognize that the walls are there at all. That track is 45 feet wide. He's going out 44 feet 11 inches up to the wall. We're watching Mauricio Gugelmin, Kenny Breck, Gary Gerald.
And as Mauricio tries to hang on to that position, Paul, he has radioed his team saying that he thinks that the engine is flat. That prompts an interesting thought, because Jan had talked with that team, and Jan, you can answer the situation relating to a special qualifying engine that Mercedes-Benz had yesterday for Mo that enabled him to grab the third starting position on the grid.
Yeah, that's right, Gary. It turned out that Mercedes found something on the dyno about a week ago, and they only had time to build one engine. So they kind of had a bit of a competition amongst their runners, saying that if you're the fastest in practice, we'll give you this special qualifying engine. And Mauricio Gugelmin got it. He ran it effectively and stuck the car up on the front row. But it's not ready for racing yet. They only have one built.
You'll see a lot of what you just saw well back. Oh, Christian very close as he continues to fight back there with Tracy. Now Tracy's going to fight with everybody.
What a great move. You can see Tracy take it right back as he flat-tracked his car through turn one. Got a great exit coming off that corner. Came up side by side with Adrian Fernandez.
He's going for Fernandez now. Montoya is also trying to move on Fittipaldi. Here comes Fernandez. Tracy right behind him. Christian Fittipaldi and Juan Montoya come into view.
And that's one of those cases where I think Tracy came off the corner, pro rally style, just hit the overtake button, kept his foot in it, was able to get away from Christian Fittipaldi, and was able to close up so quickly on Adrian Fernandez.
Look at this as they were coming down the front stretch, turning into the corner.
Whoa, just clipped the front of his nose. Now watch Tracy here. Hangs the back end out, gets a great exit on Fernandez.
When he is on it, Tracy is so good. Now working on Adrian Fernandez. Behind that entire battle is Mauricio Gugelmin, still trying to pedal as fast as he can and keep up, but he's under attack by Kenny Breck and the rookie Alex Tagliani. There comes Breck. So Kenny Breck moves into 8th place. Roberto Moreno is still the leader. At the Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland, Gilda Ferran and Michael Andretti are trying to close.
Your website's going to be set up like an MMDS gigabyte with a rotating geostationary satellite. We feel that both you and your customer will appreciate binary riddles that users love. You know, that's part of the fun. Then wait till you guys see this. The technology will be obsolete by the time we leave here today, but that's okay because we'll come back.
Who designed your website is up to you. Hooking it up and delivering the goods, leave that up to us.
Of course you ship everything FedEx.
FedEx, be absolutely sure.
I'm Cristiano da Matta. I'm 5'4", 130 pounds. That's too short for basketball. Too small for football. Yeah, 20 times a year, I take on an opponent weighing over 1,500 pounds. My size hasn't seemed to hurt me. I kick.
The ability to have hands-on brewmasters working with the finest ingredients.
In the barley fields and in the hop fields, everyone has a genuine passion and commitment to upholding the highest standards.
Quality, freshness, attention to detail. Blend those things and you have what Budweiser is all about.
These are the sights and sounds of victory.
32,180
$125,000.
These are the people who helped create a phenomenon when we just gave the call.
Let's play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
More of the classic first episodes of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire tonight on ABC. Wednesday.
We caught the plane, man.
Cage, Cusack, Malkovich. Con Air, ABC Wednesday, 8/7 Central. Parental discretion advised.
Welcome back to the Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland. This Toyota Spotlight focuses on Paul Tracy. He's here. Want to know how to go from 17th to 6th place on the opening lap? Watch this. They come down through the corner. Once again, we'll watch the contact. Watch Paul Tracy now. He comes through. He's right there. Avoids all of the conflict. Picks up 11 spots.
And with a little harder driving, Tracy has gotten around Fittipaldi. You saw that, and moved into 5th place. Since we've been away, nothing has changed. No one in the pits. Moreno is still the leader, followed by Ferran and Michael Andretti. Jan Veikkaus.
Speaking of Paul Tracy, Barry Green just told him on the radio, if you can do just a little bit better on fuel, you can gain us one more lap. This telemetry is so sophisticated that you...
9.5 Moreno, +1 Christian.
And of course, those are the intervals from and behind the cars you're involved with.
But if we're going to play a race where trying to stretch fuel as far as you can is the game, and that's usually pretty exciting stuff, Roberto Moreno is one of the best at it, and he now leads Ferran by 2.3 seconds. This is a little further back in the field, and it's a pretty good fight. You saw Kenny Breck make his move just before we went away. He now sits right behind Montoya, who is closing on Fittipaldi, and Alex Tagliani is trying to close the back of Kenny Breck. And in fact, once they would close up on Montoya, then Montoya has everything up to 4th place lined up in front of him. Interval, you saw 1st and 2nd come through. There's 3rd place Michael. Here comes that battle.
Right now, nice and smooth.
Reference for Kenny Breck.
And whether he is or not, that's what you want to tell your driver, to kind of keep him psyched up and charging all the time. If the driver's too analytical and say, hey, wait a second, I'm not catching the guy in front of me. How can I be the fastest driver? But usually drivers don't think that far through the communication. You want to keep pushing them all the time. It's very hot outside today. It's in the mid-80s. It's humid. Cockpit temperatures in the 130, 135 degree range, and the bumps put a real strain on the conditioning of the driver.
But of course you, whose nickname is Post Hole, you were never bothered by the heat, by the humidity. You drove steadfastly through, didn't you, Parker?
Well, I tell you, for drivers that train as hard as these guys do, they actually wish for difficult conditions, because if they've got a very good training regimen, they're hoping that the
balance.
They're hoping that the heat and the bumps will wear down their competitors and give them an advantage.
Parker, a quick question from the pits. When you've got a small driver like Moreno or Matta, are they at any kind of physical disadvantage because you have to manhandle the car as much over the bumps here?
Well, that's always the balance, is you want a driver that's as small as possible for the weight advantage, but at the same time they have to be physically strong enough, just not have the endurance, but the actual strength to be able to push the pedals and turn the wheel under 3G loadings. And if you talk about Moreno or Matta, those guys are incredibly fit. They spend 4, 5, 6 hours a day.
Hit three.
Cycling, running, swimming, weightlifting. But I think any lighter than these guys, Moreno about 125 pounds, same for Matta, and you're just too small to be physically strong enough to handle these 1,550, 900 horsepower cars.
So you heard the call go out to Moreno, and no doubt to the rest of the front of the order, that very shortly they will be called into the pits. 30 laps are complete. This would put them on the game plan. The early yellows have been very helpful in terms of stretching the fuel mileage just as far as they can. Roberto Moreno is the leader. We'll be back.
Indy winners demand one thing: great performance. But then so do you. That's why Firestone introduces the Firehawk SS20 with Unity for road-hugging stability, nimble handling, and great traction, especially in the wet. All of which reflects very well on its owner. The Firehawk SS20 with Unity Ultimate Tire Technology from Firestone. Firehawk, born at Indy, performs everywhere.
What if your car knew you, anticipated your needs, and then reacted to meet them? What if it could help protect you in an accident, with sensors that know where your seat's positioned and the severity of the crash, so the front airbags can react to you? What if it went even further? It's time to stop wondering what if. Introducing the new 2000 Ford Taurus with the advanced personal safety system.
Your website's going to be set up like an MMDS gigabyte.
A website should be orderly.
I will give you art.
This is your webpage, baby.
Making website is like making good jam.
Developed with the highest in technology.
Got a hard drive.
Who wants some? Who wants some? Look at the kid.
Who designs your website is up to you. Hooking it up and delivering the goods, leave that up to us.
But of course, you'll ship everything.
FedEx.
FedEx.
Like a FedEx plane.
FedEx, be absolutely sure.
Gentlemen, a moment of silence in honor of Bob. Bob, a good friend, a good man, whose time had come. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Bob.
First, get a designated driver. Next, grab a Miller Lite. It's Miller time.
Excuse me, our car broke down. Can anyone give us a ride home?
Back later, guys.
Oh, thanks.
Bye, Bob.
These boys are too young to be hired legally.
This is not 1912. This is not a cotton field in Texas. This is Sharon Losey's 6th grade class.
Welcome to the Child Labor Wax Museum.
And this is a child learning.
When a child takes what they've learned and brings it to life, it becomes a part of them.
This is the power of learning.
ABC Sports continues its coverage of the world's most famous cycling event. Will America's Lance Armstrong be victorious again? Don't miss the Tour de France next Saturday. ABC Sports is online at abcsports.com, part of Go Network. Welcome back to the Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland. I'm Paul Page with Parker Johnstone. That man, Roberto Moreno, is the leader of the race, and we expect him in the pits any time. While we were away, one incident, but it did involve the fourth-place car. Adrian Fernandez got in trouble on the long lakeside straight, spun it around, got it back under control. He was able to re-enter the circuit, head into the pits, pick up fuel and a new set of tires. But it cost him greatly. He fell way down through the order and now is 17th. But here comes the leader of the race.
Just the guys in front of you. Target guys are out. Target guys are out, but clean pit. And
You heard Jim
team manager Jim McGee talks to him. Gary?
Yep, Jim McGee telling him that the target pit, that's Juan Montoya, which is just in front of Moreno's pit, is now clear. There's a slot between the two, so there's a little extra room. Now they go to work. Got the helmet cam on Mark Schomburger right front, waving him out. 12 seconds on the stop.
Ferran picked up the lead of the race. Montoya came in as well at the same time as Roberto Moreno. There is Ferran. So here we have a change in the situation that we had from a week ago as Mauricio Gugelmin also comes into the pits, where the Penske team is keeping their car out longer.
Very different strategy. Usually Moreno and Fernandez, the two Pat Patrick drivers, can get mileage beyond anybody else in the paddock. But here's Ferran staying out for yet another lap. So he, in the previous lap, Michael Andretti stayed out, but now they're coming in. But Ferran now getting great mileage, trying to make this a two-stop race.
Let's go around Michael's, guys. We're
Michael Andretti, we send you down to the pits again.
Guys.
Yes, and of course he was able to go one more lap than Moreno. That could be a big advantage. Here comes Christian Fittipaldi, his teammate, at the same time. You see at the front of the car, they have an extended nose that they're using.
Watch Timmy.
12.5 for him. Christian Fittipaldi's clear. He's out of here as well. Good stop for both Newman Haas cars.
Ferran is still on the circuit, still in the lead. With those stops, Paul Tracy up to second place. There's the Ferran. Tell you what, he's getting pretty amazing mileage. It looks like this time he's going to head for the pit road, and in fact he does. So Gerald Ferran, who picked up the lead of the race from Roberto Moreno on the stop, now makes his first stop of the day.
Good job here. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That's Roger Penske with the instructions. It's like landing here at an airport. They've adjusted the tire pressures for Ferran. We're anticipating one turn on front wing. Haven't seen it yet up front. There'll be no wing change up front. He's rolling, Jan.
Paul Tracy has just left. Dario Franchitti is getting his service. He's got the tires waiting for fuel. Another quick stop, 12.5 for Franchitti. Boy, a lot of good stops down here today.
And with those stops, Jimmy Vasser picks up the lead of the race. Bryan Herta moves into second place.
We've talked about the engine battle all year long. We saw the Fords come in first, the Honda second. Now Jimmy Vasser with Toyota power is staying out, but followed behind him is Bryan Herta with a Mercedes. So at this point, the Toyota and Mercedes power plant being run a little bit more conservatively, getting a little better mileage. This will be advantageous if this race continues to go green. That means that they'll be able to stay out longer, which means that they can run harder before they have to come in for the final stop.
Of course, we do have to remember both of those cars actually pitted on the 13th lap, so they are out of sequence with the rest of the field, but that doesn't change the argument relative to how far they can in fact go and how many stops they make within the race. Vasser, Herta, they should lead for another 10-12 laps at least before they have to head in.
At this point, they've got to get at least 33, 34 laps. These guys are out of sequence, so they're going to be hoping for a yellow sometime before the race is over.
Road course rules apply here. A quick off of the course back on, like you saw with Adrian Fernandez. That necessitates only a yellow flag displayed at the corner station, manned by the volunteer workers, primarily from the Sports Car Club of America. And then as soon as he's back running properly, they drop the flag. If it's more severe than that, like Mark Blundell or like the first lap, then they display yellow flags all around the course and they bring the pace car out and slow the field down so the safety workers can do their job and turn the race course back into a safe condition and clear off any of the drivers and wreckage that may in fact be a problem. Here is Roberto Moreno coming right at you. He is third place. Now, he is behind Vasser and Herta. We just told you that they are probably 10-12 laps away from a stop, and so Moreno will pick up the lead of the race. The interval that's going to be important is that one right there, the distance from Roberto Moreno back to Gerald Ferran. There's Michael. Michael's a little further down. He sits currently 8th. But unless they get a caution, a full course caution, that will aid Jimmy Vasser and Bryan Herta, then Roberto Moreno's interval to Ferran is what you should keep in mind at all times. We'll take you back to the pits again.
Yes, Paul, as far as the target team goes, they have split their pits this week. They have also split the way they run their cars. For Juan Montoya, he has that nose extension on the car that you may have seen during Michael Andretti's pit stop. The Lolas are using it so they run a longer wheelbase so the car is more stable over the bumps and has more weight on the rear of the car. Jimmy Vasser, on the other hand, has not gone that route. He's gone with the traditional wheelbase on the Lola, so two different ways of running for the target team.
And the problem is the longer wheelbase does give you more stability over the bumps, but that means that it's slower to transition from left to right or right to left. So they're sacrificing a faster turning or reacting car for a little bit more stability over the bumps.
You saw Jimmy Vasser's car. Now, as he comes around, here is Montoya's car.
You can see right there, look at that nose extension. There's a flat plane before it downslopes to the tip of the nose. That allows them to slope the rear suspension forward and extend the front wheels, extending the overall wheelbase.
Montoya is working on Kenny Breck. That is a battle for 10th place. Still Vasser and Herta at the front, separated by 2 seconds. It's a typical 4th of July weekend here in Cleveland, across most of the country, I guess, for that matter. One of those lazy days of summer, hot, humid. The wind has been coming from off the lake, and it shifted to off the land this morning, and that made it a little bit more uncomfortable, but it didn't deter the crowds that have come here. There's Roberto Fontana driving for John Della Penna. He's on the same pit situation as Vassar and Herta. He currently sits in 5th place. Another Toyota engine-powered machine. We'll take you back to 7th place, and we'll go on board with Max Pappas, winner of the first race of the year at Miami.
Coming out of turn 4, the short chute from 4th to 5th. Back to 4th. This left-hander just at 3 Gs, 95 miles an hour. Very bumpy through here. Long sweeping, constant radius corner through 6, 7, and 8. About 135 miles an hour. But watch what happens here. It's off camber, big bump at the apex, and puts you out right against the concrete wall, coming down the long straight into the pit entry. Fastest part of the track here, just over 180 miles an hour.
7th place Pappas is one of those who stopped on lap 13.
We've got one of the Team Green cars that Max went by right there.
Tracy.
Yep, that's Paul Tracy.
Tracy just suddenly slowed over on the pit straight to Matta. Be careful. Paul Tracy, that was sudden. He had a pretty big engine blow up during qualifying, so no telling what this is, but he pulls off the end at the exit of the pit road and behind the barrier, and it appears that Paul Tracy's day is done, and just that quickly.
That was a very professional maneuver. He was able to get back from the inside to the outside of the track. Didn't really endanger anyone, and he was able to get it back behind the barriers, keeping the track green.
Jimmy Vassar, leader of the race on the pit road. Jan Bikas waits for him.
Yes, and I can tell you right next door is Team Cool Green. I just ran over there to find out that it turns out Paul Tracy, the problem is gearbox. But for right now, Jimmy Vassar is looking for 4 tires for fuel. A little bit of a slow right rear. Oh, now the valve, which that seems like just a couple little miscues, but that still turned out to be 11.9. So you can do it even though it looks a little bit rough.
And that turns the lead of the race over to the man who is replacing Tony Kanaan in the cockpit of this car, Brian Herta, who's driven replacement for a couple of different teams this year. He originally started out with a full-time ride, but there have been some problems with that, so he's been driving replacement for a number of different drivers, and here he is leading Mercedes Power in the Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland. Michael Andretti's last stop. We'll be back after these messages and a word from our ABC station.
You thought we only made cars.
Mr. Oz, are you incompetent?
Counselor, you've seen me here. Do you not think that I belong?
With you, it's always been about entering a room, heads turning, saying, there's the great Raymond Oz, and the idea of what they must be saying now. He's gone mad.
You shut your mouth!
You look a little homicidal, Mr. Oz.
Objection!
Eyewitness News on ABC 7.
I love Rod Abrams.
Sam Champion's the best.
Rob Hammerhand. Of course, Channel 7.
Who else are we going to watch? They're a great team.
Informative. They know what they're talking about.
I love watching Roz.
She is interested in the stories that she does. She's excited.
She's hilarious. She's one of us.
Like family. She feels like New York.
And Sam's weather is wonderful. Gets it right on the money. He's a champion.
Eyewitness News is real and it's honest.
Eyewitness News at 5 with Roz Abrams, Rob Hanrahan, and Sam Champion here on ABC 7.
Thank you, Roz. We love you.
Strauss. Strauss.
This week, Winter Excite 3-step fuel injector tune-up kit, only $39.99.
Strauss. We keep you driving.
The investigators are looking out for you. Do you have a story they should be looking into? Call the investigators at 1-877-TIP-NEWS. That's 1-877-TIP-NEWS. Eyewitness News investigators. They're looking out for you.
Chevy Malibu has raised the standards. Standard V6, standard automatic, standard ABS, standard air. All this for about $4,000 less than Camry and Accord. Chevy Malibu. Standards you can depend on.
Lease a 2000 Malibu for as low as $219 a month. Residency restrictions apply. Call for lease details. It's your Chevrolet ticket to ride.
Putting your fears to rest about laser eye surgery. Monday at 5.
The Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland on ABC Sports. Brought to you by Honda, proud sponsor of the 2000 FedEx Championship Series.
Welcome back to the Burke Lakefront Airport in the Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland. There is the leader, Roberto Moreno. While we were away, Brian Herta made his stop. That took him out of the lead. Also, Mark Blundell stopped, as well as Max Pappas. So it is now Moreno, de Ferran, Andretti, and Christian Fittipaldi. Moreno started on the pole. He's led for 37 of the 47 laps run thus far. He only gave up when he came in for the pits, and they cycled through the field. But Gilles de Ferran, the second place car, now may have a problem. Gary Gerald?
Paul, he in fact has a significant problem. It relates to his rear brakes. When he came in on the stop, there was some fluid inside the left rear. They thought it might be brake related. They've been monitoring the situation. Now with radio conversations with Gilles, they've confirmed that they do have a significant braking problem. We saw him almost lock up going into turn 1 2 laps ago. Last time going by, he kind of tiptoed into that corner. The team says they told him to try to adapt or adjust the brake bias as best he can in the cockpit, then adapt his driving style. He'll just try to plug away as best he can, but he may not be nearly as competitive, even though he still runs in second place.
You know, despite the fact he's having that problem, he's really not falling that far behind that quickly. He crosses the line behind Moreno.
And he's fortunate to have that problem here, Paul, because most of these corners are momentum corners. You take a lot of speed into, through, and out of the corners. It's only here in turn 1 where you really have to stand on the brakes. Gilles' a very adaptable driver. He can, as Gary said, he'll adjust the brake bias to try to use more front brakes, a little less rear, putting a little less strain on the rear reservoir and system. And right now, he's been able to, he's losing a little bit to Moreno, a few tenths every lap, but he's been able to keep the interval between he and Andretti pretty constant. They're slowly creeping up on him, but not very fast.
Here comes Michael Andretti with his teammate Christian Fittipaldi, the two black cars. And it's a battle third, well, all the way back through 6th. 7th, really, is now Franchitti, and that green and white car joins the battle. Michael with Fittipaldi working on him. Michael is 3rd. Kenny Brack behind Fittipaldi's having a pretty good run today. The 99 Indy 500 champion, leading the rookie point standings in the FedEx Series right now. But look who he's got behind him, Montoya. Yeah, that's comforting. Look up, see him in your rearview mirrors. Oh, goody.
And historically, if you look at the results at Cleveland, Bobby Rahall's car and his cars have always been very good with the bumps here.
You'll see a lot of that. They can do it and get away with it, and so they do.
And we've seen good performances from Breck and Pappas during the course of this weekend. Montoya's engineer is Bill Pappas, who used to be Gilles de Ferran's engineer. Bill Pappas has always produced a good car here at Burke Lakefront Airport. Dario Franchitti, the car trailing Montoya, he's had good performances here in the past. He was quickest, took the provisional pole on Friday. So you've got a whole group of cars, including these two, the Newman-Haas cars, who have a very unique shock absorber system with lines that interconnect from side to side to help deal with the bumps here at Burke Lakefront. So all of these cars at the front have engineers or personal histories of doing well at this racetrack.
This battle is tightening up. Alex Tagliani has joined it as well behind Franchitti, and Cristiano de Matta is in there. This is the look down at Andretti and Fittipaldi from the Honda Helicam. Kenny Brack comes into view, so does Montoya and Franchitti. They're going 3rd all the way back to 9th with that battle.
And as we approach the halfway point here, this is where we start to see mechanical problems. Remember, they've only been on 2 temporary courses this year at Long Beach and Detroit. We saw some gearbox and half-shaft failures there. This place is far bumpier than any other circuit. And I would expect from here on in, we'll see cars periodically dropping out with mechanical problems.
You're looking at 2 teammates, Michael Andretti and Christian Fittipaldi. Upper left, we'll show you the rest of the teams and who drives for each of those teams. Of course, Moreno is the leader, driving for Pat Patrick. Adrian Fernandez drives with him. Fernandez currently 13th. Max Pappas suddenly slows. He drives off. That's a safe area that he can drive off.
Max, park in the safe spot. Thanks for doing your best today.
Thanks,
Miller guys. Let's pack up.
Series sponsor FedEx has neatly parked one of their 727s off there. Hope Max gets it stopped before they get there.
Looks like Max is just going to load up and go to Toronto from here.
Just park here in the shade.
I like it.
Max Pappas, I'll tell you what, that man does have a flair. Jan Veikkaus?
Yes, and it seems like it's the exact same problem that happened to Paul Tracy. Gearbox related. That's what put Max Pappas out of this one.
Oh, Parker, you predicted gearboxes, half shafts, constant velocity joints. It looks like it's coming to pass, and when it happens very quickly. Roberto Moreno is still the leader. Second place, Gilles de Ferran. Michael Andretti all the way back through 9th place. Cristiano de Matta continue to battle. Moreno looks for his first win. We'll be back.
This is a weird one. Guy's got a metal plate in his head. Now he's picking up radio signals on it.
Here at the top of the 5th, score tied at 3. Here's the pitch. A swing and a drive.
Having a few friends over?
A home run by Johnstone.
Grab a Miller Lite. It's Miller time.
This is a weird one. This guy's got cable.
First anniversary, paper. 25th anniversary, silver. 100th anniversary, rubber. The Firestone 100th anniversary tire sale. 4 tires for $100. Happy anniversary. First anniversary, paper. 25th anniversary, silver. 100th anniversary, rubber. The Firestone 100th anniversary tire sale. 4 tires for $100. Happy anniversary.
Right now, you can get all this from Toyota. That's right. Not 6, not 9, but a full 12 inches. The Toyota Tacoma, offering the highest ground clearance in a compact truck for a very affordable price. The Toyota Tacoma offers the highest standard payload in a compact truck for around $12,000, which means you can fill it with something a lot nicer than bricks or cement.
The putt. The hole-in-one. The slice. ABC Sports takes you there. Next, the final round of the Canon Greater Hartford Open.
Indy 500 winner Juan Montoya faces some of kart's best at the Michigan 500, including Paul Tracy and Jimmy Vasser. July 23rd on ABC.
This Wide World of Sports update brought to you by Mobil 1. Nothing outperforms Mobil 1.
Our Mobil 1 sports update from Cleveland pertains to this running, of course, of this great event. Now in its 18th year, and out in front, Roberto Moreno looking for his first Champ Car victory. Gilles de Ferran's brake problems have been compounded. He has lost the position, it appears. We'll update that in just a couple of moments. looking to the future of this series, there's a race coming up this fall on the Gold Coast of Australia at Surfers Paradise, and there's a young man from the Indy Lights who's hoping to step up. His name is Jason Bright. He's from Australia, from the Gold Coast. He got his first Indy Lights victory in the most recent event on the streets of Belle Isle at Detroit. Consequently, he's now just 2 points behind New Zealand's Scott Dixon in the battle for the Indy Lights Championship. And Jason, who is watching the action anxiously here, is awaiting his chance to get into a champ car. It'll come at Surfers Paradise Down Under this fall. Paul?
He's watching a pretty good fight. Michael Andretti, you saw, got around till Ferran picked up second place. Now his teammate, Christian Fittipaldi, gets around. It didn't take much. Alex Tagliani was making a move there. It did not work for him. He is still right behind Franchitti, and just behind him is Cristiano de Matta.
Kenny Breck goes down the inside of Ferran. All the teams have now radioed their drivers that Ferran has brake problems. Ferran's trying to come back here. And I tell you, that just sets a driver up to attack. If they can detect any weakness. Whoa! Franchitti gets really wide there. Coming off the third corner. Tagliani trying to rattle his cage, looking to both sides.
Tags right there on top of Franchitti. Montoya starts to work Ferran. Ferran's tried to defend where he can. Look at de Matta. De Matta's going to move on Tagliani. De Matta comes around Tagliani. De Matta to 8th place.
Great move by Cristiano. While Tag was trying to attack Dario, he took advantage of the situation, maintained his momentum through that high-speed sweeping carousel of 6, 7, and 8. Remember, de Matta qualified 5th, the best of the year. He was all the way back to 17th after the first lap incident, and has now worked his way back up to 8th.
De Matta, Cal Wells PPI car as Montoya overhauls Ferran. Ferran very wisely, as soon as he sees a car making the move like there, and he clears the course and lets him come through. Well, wait a minute, what's this? He came back pretty hard. He's found a new line where he doesn't have to rely on those brakes quite as much.
Well, he's not dead yet, Paul. He's going to keep fighting. Joe was able to keep the group behind him for quite a while, but eventually they were able to overhaul him. And once one driver gets by, then the following drivers are doing everything possible to take advantage of the situation. But Ferran's going to fight as hard as he can, pick up as many points as he can to try to stay in the championship fight.
And you talk about a sportsman. I mean, he knows that turn 1 is a hard braking turn. He gave him plenty of room there. But then when he got out into the open where he knows he still can perform, he got right back into the fight. Altered his line slightly so he could take advantage of it. Roger Penske, car owner on Ferran.
Keep in mind, like I said before, most of these corners require just a brush of the brake or a little harder braking, but not the sort of intense braking that's required right here. This is where Dario will try to get it done.
And without any problem. But watch as they come off of this corner. De Matta may in fact get him as well, but I doubt it because now Ferran makes the car work. Alters the line and almost gets him back. Now here is where de Matta passed last time around. Again, heavy braking.
You can see Ferran locking the fronts there. He's put as much bias to the front as he can get away with. Takes away considerable amount of braking power. They have an adjustable knob in the cockpit. You just twist it towards the front. But where he needs hard braking, it's really going to hurt him. Whoa, big smoke from Christian Fittipaldi.
Oh, enormous smoke. And I don't know if that's when he bottomed, whether it was the engine or whether it was brake. No, it's more serious. He's heading off the course as Breck and everybody comes along. So it was something back in the engine compartment.
Let's see if he can get it pulled off so that we don't have to go full course yellow. He's going to try to run it right through turn 1. There it is. But no, he turns to continue. Very surprising.
Well, he's kind of trapped there. He really couldn't pull it off course to the left with everybody closing on him.
I thought he had a moment when Tag cleared to get across, but now he's gone down into the grass on the inside of turn 1. Just he's going to want to get to a fire station in case anything goes wrong at the back of that car.
Well, he's going to pull up very close to the timing and scoring section out in the middle.
I hope he doesn't start a 4th of July barbecue a little soon here and take timing and scoring with him.
Grab the hot dogs and the marshmallows. We have a very expensive potential fire. So Roberto Moreno is the leader. Andretti, Christian Fittipaldi's teammate, is in second place. Kenny Breck, the rookie, is now third. Montoya up to fourth. Ferran still fighting the good fight. gives way where he has to, and races where he can.
And you can see the difference right at the final end of braking where you're really standing on the brakes, where Ferran did a good job with a lot of aerodynamic load at the beginning of the braking area, but he just can't keep putting brakes on as he loses the downforce as the car slows down for the corner. Cristiano de Matta just tucks neatly right to the inside.
Jan Vikas, from our point of view, that sudden failure for Christian Fittipaldi was in fact that sudden. What did the team see?
Well, I spoke with the Ford engineers, and they said from their data they lost water pressure. So they do not know if they split a radiator or something along those lines. They said the engine was still running when he shut it off, but obviously if you did have a split radiator, that would definitely end your day.
Well, I will tell you this, ahead of that there was no indication, no steam showing or anything that might indicate a split radiator. And in fact, even when he rolled to a stop, there wasn't that much of a display. Well, Moreno has led 50 laps now. He's clinched that extra point for the most laps led, along with a point for taking the pole. We'll be back.
Combat Rangers. They're rough, they're tough, they're battle-tested. They're lean, mean fighting machines. When there's a battle to be won, Combat Rangers get the job done. Making backyards safe for democracy.
Now, tell me why they're wearing dresses?
The commander uniforms didn't arrive from China.
That's because you picked the wrong shipping company.
Next time, use the only U.S. Express shipper with direct routes from China. FedEx, be absolutely sure.
Matching night vision tiara sold separately.
From the quarter mile at St. Louis to the third turn at Talladega to the pits of Laguna Seca. Wherever innovation is the margin between win and lose, the pros reach for the same tools you do. Craftsman, the official tools of CART, NHRA, and NASCAR.
Now you can receive a short text message over the internet. Then send back an answer. Or simply type in one of your own. Introducing two-way internet messaging, only from Nextel.
When you've been fortunate to achieve in life, it's important to share that success with others. I feel strongly about that. I believe the folks at Target stores do too. When they talk to me about kids fighting cancer at the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and the idea of building a place for families to stay, I knew it needed to happen. Today, Target House is real. It's a success story from a store that donates over $1 million a week back to the community. Sharing success is something I admire.
Just when you think there's only so many ways to make a burger, we come up with something better. Now every order is made hot, fresh, right to order. So suddenly I'm not just making a burger.
I'm making your burger.
Makes all the difference in the world. How can I tell it's working? Yep, that's one yes.
We love to see you smile.
On ESPN, it's Sunday Night Baseball presented by Gumhouse. Barry Bonds will lead the San Francisco Giants against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Coverage tonight, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network. Well, back at the Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland, the Burke Lakefront Airport, you will see that Michael Andretti is now behind Kenny Brack. He was not there when we left you. And the reason that he's back there is going into turn one. Mikey got in just a little bit of trouble, and Kenny Brack took advantage of it.
Comes in, locks the rear brakes, the back end steps out on him. He's able to hang on to it. But Kenny Brack slides by the inside, and there's Montoya in pursuit.
And Christian Fittipaldi, well, you saw his out. He sprinted across the racetrack. Now he's with Gary.
Christian, was this car good enough to win this race?
Considering what was qualifying, that was really a nightmare for us, and we have been pretty good in all qualifying sessions this year. I would say it was running very, very strong in the race, and I was happy. I was maybe a little bit quicker at some stages than Mike was, but at that point of the race there was no point in pushing, and I was just trying to save fuel and going with the flow.
The officials were motioning you to not come across the racetrack. You ran across. You're probably going to get a fine for that, do you think?
I don't know if I'm gonna get a fine, but when I stopped the car, I had to look at the last car, which was Fernandez going by, and there was at least about a 30-second gap between Fernandez and the other car. I have been doing this for a long time. I know pretty much when I have to cross the track and when I don't have to cross the track. Now, it's up to them. If they think it's more important to find drivers crossing the track than actually take care of racing, then it's up to them.
Christian, Jan?
Juan Montoya came in, Gary, while you were doing that interview. You might have heard it in the background. A 12.6-second stop. No apparent changes for him, just fuel and tires.
Well, with all of that, Roberto Moreno, driving for Pat Patrick, remains the leader. Kenny Breck, with all of that, especially with Michael, comes up into second place. He drives for Dave Letterman and Bobby Rahal. Michael Andretti has fallen to third, and then Dario Franchitti, Cristiano Matta. What has been a pretty good fight, constantly at one another, not passing one another as much as you would expect, but they certainly have been there.
We're expecting Moreno in the next couple laps, but Paul, these guys have really turned the wick up. Now, Cristiano Matta, the last few laps, has turned the quickest lap of the race, followed by Franchitti, Montoya, Breck. And that's sort of the top group, and they just keep pushing harder and harder and harder with every successive lap.
Well, with 35 laps to go, what's the magic number to be able to make this final stop and make it a final stop?
Well, I think you've got to go at least 33 or 34, which puts it over just 2 miles per gallon. So either you're going to have the strategy of pushing very hard and, you know, damn the fuel mileage and just do a splash and go at the end, or you're going to stretch it and hope that the yellow doesn't come out at the wrong time.
So this would be early. Kenny Breck out of second place into the pits.
Set fuel.
All it is fuel, Jan.
Yes, that's right. That's all they have left to wait for.
Go. Clear.
12.2 seconds. Just that little reminder to make sure you turn on that speed limiter before you leave the pit stall.
Cristiano Matta makes his stop as well. Adrian Fernandez is in. Moreno stays out. This is the teammate to Fernandez.
We got a problem. The problem here is Fernandez was creeping, trying to get the fuel out. They pulled it back. Now he stalled the engine. They've recocked. I don't know if they got fuel in to begin with.
Filled up.
Well, they got a final little shot in there. Now they refire the engine.
And the problem is the clutches get very, very hot. If the driver selects first gear when it's on the ground, oftentimes it'll just start creeping forward. And the driver's trying to operate the throttle, the brake, and keep the clutch in simultaneously here.
As we look at that again,
you can see it lurch there, Paul, as he put it in first gear and it just started creeping.
Let's remember that this is the teammate to the leader of the race. You would sometimes presume that if there's a problem on one car within a team, that problem may in fact replicate itself with the other. Roberto Moreno leads, Andretti second, Franchitti now third. Gil de Ferran still fighting him, he's fourth. And here is Roberto Moreno on the pit road. Gary Gerald waits for him.
Nice and easy now, nice and easy.
Jim McGee urging his man in. They were at about 12.5 seconds on the initial stop. Fuel flow gets a little bit slower on the second stop because it's gravity feed. Mark Schomburger right front, helmet cam. No aero changes thus far.
5.
Fueling's complete. 13.1, Jan.
And Michael Andretti is getting his service as well. We see that he does have scrub tires, so that's the answer to the question about whether they had time this morning. Another quick stop for Newman Haas. Yes, anything under 12 seconds, and it's a race with Franchitti, and he beats him out.
Well, Dario Franchitti obviously came in as well, comes out right behind Michael Andretti. Up, they can hit 140 miles an hour as they come into this turn, turning back onto the race course out of the pit.
This is what we've seen in the past. Coming out of the pits, you exit faster than the guys on the track. Look at Michael fight with Montoya here. But keep in mind, his tires are cold. Montoya's going to want to try to take advantage of him right back.
Now, he had to have surprised Montoya. Of course, Montoya's coming off of a tighter turn, than Michael had to make when he came off the pit road.
You can get a great launch coming out of the pits, and now look at Franchitti.
Franchitti in the fight works on Michael Andretti.
You're looking at the three best guys in the world at going out on cold tires and getting the most out of them. Now keep in mind, Montoya had come in earlier. He had heat in his tires, but Michael and Dario are now battling with each other.
So we watch Dario Franchitti work on Michael Andretti. Jill Ferran has headed for the pit.
Reset fuel. Good job, guys. Just hang with it.
He brought it in very slow, Paul, and I think it might relate to that possible brake problem. Revs are up, fueling's complete, the Ferran's back out.
Nice and smooth down here. Good job.
Franchitti could not get Michael as they came through one.
Got a Lola versus a Renard chassis, a Ford versus a Honda.
And probably needless to say, with those stops and a good stop by the Patrick Racing team, Roberto Moreno continues to be the leader of the race while Dario Franchitti tries everything he knows to get around Michael Andretti. 69 laps complete. We'll be back after these messages and a word from our ABC station.
Fireman, the mayor of my town. The dude's hanging off of the paper truck. Mr. Chang, down at the local deli, sells me morning coffee, wishes me good luck. This is for the people in my neighborhood. They help me through the day and make me feel good. This buzz for you, and you, and you, and you. This buzz for you.
Meryl Streep is coming to television in an ABC original.
How much do I love you? More than I get so.
He's not going to die.
Mommy, don't leave me.
I bring my kid to you people for help, and all you do is make him sicker. And it's not because of his sickness. It's because of your cure.
Academy Award winner Meryl Streep in a movie that celebrates life. First, Do No Harm. ABC Monday at 8/7 Central.
I watch Eyewitness News religiously. They're great. They're outstanding.
They have a good camaraderie.
Just feel like they're real. And gets across the important events.
Gives you so much local coverage.
I always say, there goes that Eyewitness News man. Roz Abrams, love her. Oh, Roz is great.
She's very natural.
She's cool.
Rob
Hammerhead.
Makes you laugh. Sam Champion.
They work as a great team.
They have such great chemistry.
They have a lot of fun doing the news.
I think Channel 7 has the perfect news team.
Eyewitness News at 5 with Roz Abrams, Rob Hanrahan, and Sam Champion. Here on ABC 7.
Hey, Roz, keep up your good work.
Be a winner.
Watch the New York State Lottery drawing live on ABC 7.
It's a blast.
Get your daily picks in the numbers game and win 4 every evening during Wheel of Fortune.
7's got it live.
Take 5 every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday on Eyewitness News at 11.
7's got it live.
And Lotto every Wednesday and Saturday during Eyewitness News at 11.
7's got it live.
Be a winner. Watch the New York State Lottery drawing live on ABC 7.
Chevy Malibu has raised the standards. Standard V6, Standard Automatic, Standard ABS, Standard Air. All this for about $4,000 less than Camry and Accord. Chevy Malibu. Standards you can depend on.
Lease a 2000 Malibu for as low as $219 a month. Residency restrictions apply. Call for lease details. It's your Chevrolet ticket to ride.
An hour that'll make you feel good about everything in your whole life. Monday's open.
ABC Sports continues its coverage of the world's most famous cycling event. Will America's Lance Armstrong be victorious again? Don't miss our coverage of the Tour de France. ABC Sports is online at abcsports.com, part of Go Network. Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland, this man, Roberto Moreno, has led the most laps. He leads the race in search of his very first ever FedEx Series win. He scored his first pole to get in this position. He's being pursued now by rookie Kenny Breck and Juan Montoya. But for the most part, he's had it his own way. Now here comes Montoya working on Kenny Breck. And Montoya gets him, so that's the pass that puts Montoya in second place. But Breck's going to come right back.
He's trying to
alongside.
And look at this. This is the beauty of Cleveland, side by side. Montoya chops him going down to the apex.
Just follow him. He's going to have have to stop again. Duck in behind him and save some fuel. Get in behind him.
You can hear Scott Remke talking to Kenny Breckner.
And that is the whole story of this race now, Parker. Can you get it to the finish?
Well, Montoya's got to go 36 laps to the end. As hard as he's pushing, that's not going to happen unless we have a yellow. He's going to have to come in.
Don't worry about it. 2.1. You just work on that. 2.1.
He's going to have to come in for a splash and go. Scott Remke telling Kenny Breck he's got to get 2.1 miles per gallon. On the display on the steering wheels, it gives them instantaneous fuel mileage. They know how many miles per gallon they have to go. His target number, 2.1. Now this following train of Andretti, Franchitti, and Matta, they have to go 33 laps. That means they can run a little more aggressively with the fuel and a little bit more power. We'll see if they can hunt down Kenny Breck before they get to the end.
Well, now with 26 laps to go, and we watch that battle for fourth, Franchitti continues to work on Michael hard. And Cristiano Matta is right there as a spectator, hoping that something happens that he can get around. I want to show you this. Look at the last pit stop. That's really the key to this whole thing now. Whether or not they can make it to the finish without having to stop at all. A splash and go, though it might be 2-3 seconds in the pits, is still costly because of the speed limit in the pits and the roll in and roll out time.
And right now, Montoya is just over 12 seconds behind Moreno. For him to have a chance to win this thing, he's got to hunt down Moreno. And as you said, he's got to get 25, 30 seconds of lead. I don't think that's going to happen with 25 laps to go, but certainly he's going to build his margin over this group of cars.
And with all of that, of course, you still have the battling going on. It doesn't mean that you totally pull out of the thing. And Michael Andretti has Franchitti working all over the back of the fourth place car. Terry Gerald?
Well, I think it's very interesting. Chip Ganassi on the radio told Montoya just before that sequence with Kenny Breck to stand on it, gas it, go for it. That tells me that they definitely figure they're going to make a splash because, as Parker pointed out, he was in 4 or 5 laps earlier than some of these other cars. Meanwhile, for Moreno, we're told by the team there that they've told him he can richen up a notch. And that would indicate that he's good for fuel the rest of the way. So the guessing game is underway here at Cleveland. Jan?
Yes, it continues for the Newman Haas crew as well. For Michael Andretti, they say that he can make it to the end, but it will be close. So they're watching their mileage, as we've heard. Kenny Breck is as well.
Again, here comes Michael Andretti with Franchitti working him, and Matta working Franchitti.
And with the telemetry data and the fuel computers they have now, they can calculate down to ounces. The problem that they have is in these long, sustained corners where they're pulling just over 3 Gs, can the fuel pickup system pick up those last few ounces on the last lap or two before they get to the checker?
We watch Roberto Moreno, the leader of the race. Just ahead of him is Brian Herta driving for Morris Nunn. Alex Zanardi fans, there's a pretty good story here.
This upcoming weekend at Sebring, Alex Zanardi is back, and he will be testing this car for potentially racing the car at the next race at Toronto.
So Morris Nunn renews his old friendship with Alex Zanardi, and we may in fact see him back in the series. Right now, though, it is Brian Herta in the cockpit trying desperately to keep from going a lap down to Moreno. Montoya was quickest last time around. Jan, you can add to that Alex Zanardi story, can't you?
I can. In fact, I spoke with Morris Nunn just before the start of this race, and I said, well, if the test goes well, will you have Alex in the car for Toronto? He says, I will not ask him. It will only be if Alex wants to do it and he feels comfortable. I won't put him in a position unless he really wants to go drive it.
Oh, yeah, the donut man, a chance to drive. No, I don't want, well, unless, of course, he has some sort of legal concern. But my impression is that all of those concerns are now void. His contract in Formula One is, in fact, at an end. He can do about anything he wants. Roberto Moreno, then Montoya, then Kenny Breck, and Michael Andretti, followed by Dario Franchitti and Cristiano Matta, as we move to the closing laps in what should be a fascinating finish in Cleveland.
Eight-time kart race winner, 38 top 5 finishes, kart champion. Jimmy Vasser is one of the smartest drivers in all of racing. Ever wonder what he's thinking during a race?
Wall, bad. Finish line, good.
Wall. Bad. Finish.
First anniversary, paper. 25th anniversary, silver. 100th anniversary, rubber. The Firestone 100th anniversary tire sale. 4 tires for $100. Happy anniversary.
Hello?
First anniversary, paper. 25th anniversary, silver. 100th anniversary, rubber. The Firestone 100th anniversary tire sale. 4 tires for $100. Happy anniversary.
Television sets equipped with a new V-chip are now available. This system allows you to program your television to control the programs your children watch. Use the TV parental guidelines to choose programming best suited for your family. The V-chip and TV parental guidelines. Together, your guide to better family viewing.
Welcome back to Cleveland. Alex Tagliani on the tow rope. He just rolled to a stop, but it did bring out a full course caution. And with that, heading for the pits was Juan Montoya. Gary Gerald.
Well, it was an absolutely routine stop. It was perhaps advantageous because I knew they'd have to have a splash. You heard Juan calling for a half a turn of front wing. He got the fuel he needed. No fresh tires. Stayed on the ones he had and was gone in about 7 1/3 seconds.
Go, go, go!
And after that, Chip Ganassi said you can go as fast as you can. Now, we showed you a graphic just before we showed you that pit stop that showed Kenny Breck as the leader of the race. We've had some pretty serious problems with kart timing and scoring. It's the system that generates those graphics into our system. And right now, that scoring it is showing Breck and Andretti as having one more lap than they actually have. Roberto Moreno is, in fact, the leader of the race. He is followed as the leader by Juan Montoya, then Kenny Breck, and Michael Andretti. We apologize for that misinformation.
And now Roberto Moreno's got a big problem because with that splash and go, Montoya's got plenty of fuel to run full rich. Moreno obviously is going to turn up the wick on this restart. He's gotten a little bit of fuel in the bank on this yellow, but it's Montoya that has the advantage as we get into the closing laps of the race.
In fact, even the drivers have been pretty vocal about getting the scoring system a little more functional because it confuses them most of all. They're the ones that absolutely need that information.
You know, and looking at the running order on the track, I think right now our monitor's completely wrong. I think Moreno's in the lead. We've got Breck, Andretti, Franchitti, D'Amata. Tagliani is now out, even though he's still shown on the track. You can see there's Patrick Carpentier, but it's this man now who is down, I believe, in 7th position, not in 2nd position.
There you go. With his stop, he dropped down to 7th. But the key is right there. Roberto Moreno. About 22 to go. Can he hold on to score his first win for this man, Pat Patrick? Green flag, we're racing once again. And here comes Kenny Breck. Also Michael. Michael works on Breck. Franchitti is there behind him. Michael all the way off course. Franchitti darts to the inside. D'Amata looks for room. Franchitti goes way right, trying to keep away from Michael. Now they try to split him. Franchitti inside Michael. Oh, Michael lets him through.
What a bonsai pass. Dario just came down the inside. Michael didn't have a choice. He had to get out of the way. D'Amata took advantage of the situation. Now look, Carpentier trying to get around the outside of Michael. There's nothing like a 150-foot wide racetrack. Oh, and it looked like Montoya got into the back of Carpentier coming off of turn 6.
Remember, Montoya with that stop has unlimited fuel now. He has no fuel-saving campaign going at all. Chip Ganassi, his owner, said, you go ahead, gas it all you want. The others ahead of him are not as fortunate.
You know, and thinking about that pass, Michael rightfully could have turned down into that corner, but he knew it would have resulted in a big accident. He didn't have any choice but to stay out wide and let Dario come down the inside.
But Parker, of course, that all started with that tussle that he had with Kenny Breck, because Kenny Breck was pushing aggressively Michael out to the outside of the track, and that's where he lost that momentum.
That's exactly right, and I thought Dario would actually tuck a little farther to the inside. He almost followed Michael off the outside, just kept his left side wheels out of the grass, but was still able to out-drag him going down into turn 3.
Carpentier trying to work on Michael. Montoya trying to work Carpentier. We take you back to the front. Here's the leader. Second place, Kenny Breck.
And now as we look through the quickest laps of the race, Montoya has turned 3 of the top 5 quickest laps, followed by D'Amata and Franchitti. Usually this track gets a little slicker as it gets dirtier and hotter as the race progresses, and the times actually tend to go down, but at this point, the speeds go down, the times go up, and we're seeing now as these guys push hard towards the end.
Use your overtake. Use your overtake when you need to.
They're going quicker and quicker.
That was Dario Franchitti's radio you were listening to. So Franchitti driven a good race, a very aggressive race in the last few laps. Worked him up into third place, but still it is Roberto Moreno that is at the head of this race, looking for win number 1.
From the quarter mile at St. Louis to the third turn at Talladega to the pits of Laguna Seca. Wherever innovation is the margin between win and lose, the pros reach for the same tools you do. Craftsman, the official tools of CART, NHRA, and NASCAR.
Now you can receive a short text message over the internet. Then send back an answer. Or simply type in one of your own. Introducing two-way internet messaging, only from Nextel.
For years, Honda engineers have developed the ultimate in racing technology. Innovations that have brought the manufacturers championships, the respect of the entire racing world, and of course, rupees. Fortunately,
go!
this same technology goes into every Honda we build.
What you've been fortunate to achieve in life, it's important to share that success with others. I feel strongly about that. I believe the folks at Target stores do too. When they talk to me about kids fighting cancer at the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and the idea of building a place for families to stay, I knew it needed to happen. Today, Target House is real. A success story from a store that donates over $1 million a week back to the community. Sharing success is something I admire.
Cameron Poe's ready to celebrate his Independence Day.
Today's flight is a special one.
But with these cons, the price of freedom has just gone up.
We caught the plane, man! Welcome to Con Air.
Take your seat.
Shoot us down.
Buckle up.
There are innocent people up there.
And say your prayers.
What are you gonna do? We will save the day.
Cage, Cusack, Malkovich. Let the real fireworks begin. Con Air, ABC Wednesday, 8/7 Central. Parental discretion advised.
The Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland on ABC Sports. Brought to you by FedEx, proud sponsor of the FedEx Championship Series.
Welcome back to Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland. Full page with Parker Johnstone. Roberto Moreno still leads it. Nothing's changed. Then Breck, then Franchitti. The Budweiser Hard Charger Award. This the 8th and 20th races. And big spin.
Mauricio Gugelmin has gone off. He was having a bit of a battle there. Got into turn 3. Back in, started to come around. Keeps it running.
Mauricio was trying to make some moves, trying to get something working. And that was, the start of that was pretty quick and violent. Mauricio got it recovered. We're back to the front.
He was having a battle with Gilles de Ferran. Gilles, remember, suffering from a brake problem. Gilles trying to hold on. There you can see they come in. He gets hit in the back by Gilles de Ferran. You can see the wing damage on the left front of Gilles' car there.
Remember, de Ferran's been having brake problems, but he stayed in the fight.
And you can see he came across and Gilles left the apex and didn't give him any room. Here he is trying to go around the outside of Norberto Fontana, side by side, no problem here. He cuts back for the apex. Gilles comes in a ton and just rams him in the back. You can see, I suspect that there's not only damage from the left front wing on de Ferran's car, but also suspension. Mauricio Gugelmin, there's Fontana, he lets him go, turns in, whoa, got speared.
And that put de Ferran on pit road, Gary Gerald.
Yes, indeed. You can see a huge tire mark on the left side of the front nose and damage to the wing. He came in dead stick, wheels out. Apparently there's suspension problems as well. Looks like the race is complete. And the Penske streak that had been building such great momentum, having won 3 of the last 4, will be temporarily sidetracked here at Cleveland.
Yeah, you saw the bend and the link.
Yeah, you can see that upper wishbone is just hammered. That big bone in his day's done.
And Parker, we can just add a footnote. Apparently the contact related to the fact of that brake problem we've been talking about for the last hour, and Gilles de Ferran just couldn't get the car wound up and got into Gugelmin.
As we suspected, back to the front of the field, Roberto Moreno, followed by Breck, Franchitti, and Cristiano Matta. Jan Beekes on Dario.
Yeah, speaking of Dario Franchitti, remember that he has the Honda power plant, so he's got a lot of pressure here because they have a streak on temporary circuits of 16 victories in a row, and right now we've got 2 Fords at the front. So Honda's looking for number 50 and 16, or rather 17 in a row on temporary circuits. So a lot riding with Dario, and of course he's very eager to get up in the championship as well.
Last time Honda didn't win a temporary course was back with Mauricio Gugelmin's victory in 1997 at Vancouver. But it looks like this might be Ford's day. Keep in mind, Cristiano Matta with the Toyota power in 4th place, trying to hound Cristiano Matta to look for his first podium in the kart series.
90 laps complete for the leader of the race, Roberto Moreno, the pole sitter, the points leader coming into this event. Can he hold on? Ford, 1st and 2nd. Honda sits 3rd at the Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland.
Your website's going to be set up like an MMDS Gigabyte with a rotating geostationary satellite. We feel that both you and your customer will appreciate binary riddles that users love. You know, that's part of the fun. Then wait till you guys see this. The technology will be obsolete by the time we leave here today, but that's okay because we'll come back.
Who designed your website is up to you. Hooking it up and delivering the goods, leave that up to us.
Of course you ship everything FedEx.
FedEx, be absolutely sure.
1st anniversary, paper. 25th anniversary, silver. 100th anniversary, rubber. The Firestone 100th anniversary tire sale. 4 tires for $100. Happy anniversary.
I love you. Good night.
Wayne? Wayne? Wayne?
I do love the ladies. Wayne!
Meeting the guys after work?
Who's your buddy?
Grab a Miller Lite. It's Miller time.
Wayne?
How do you enhance a V8 engine that produces 245 horsepower? A chassis that can haul up to 2,000 pounds. Or brakes that have 4 piston calipers? Simple. Add about 6 pounds of steel. Toyota Tundra, Motor Trend Truck of the Year, and 4-Wheel and Off-Road Magazine's 4x4 of the Year.
First anniversary, paper. 25th anniversary, silver. 100th anniversary, rubber. The Firestone 100th anniversary tire sale. 4 tires for $100. Happy anniversary.
Back at the Burke Lakefront Airport, Roberto Moreno, who just made that little right-hander, may be looking at his first ever career win in the FedEx Series. Cristiano Matta made a move on Franchitti, and that fight continues. Michael Andretti is right there as well. So with that one little change, that's been the only one we've seen, but here Michael wants to change it once again. He gets inside of Franchitti.
Well, Dario's either got it leaned way back or he's got some sort of problem.
Bring it home. Right to go.
He's got some sort of problem because where Matta passed him going into the chicane is a very unusual place to pass. We can see the smoke.
He jumps all over the brake, gets way wide, Jan Veikkaus.
Yes, prior to that, Paul, he had some handling difficulties. In fact, the crew had called him and said go full stiff on the rear anti-roll bar. So it appears it's not that he's running lean, he's got handling difficulties.
Patrick Carpentier just got around Dario Franchitti.
Yeah, it had to be one of the two because you can see he's just
now Montoya gets him. Gary Gerald?
Ferran now out of the car. How tough was it to drive with the brake problem that you had to experience virtually the whole afternoon?
Well, basically by myself, I could just about deal with it because I was just simply not braking and just banging down the gears. But whenever there was somebody around me, I simply couldn't do anything about it. And
is that what happened with Gugelmin?
Yeah, basically they were fighting for position. That they all stopped in front of me. And I'm pumping the brakes and yeah, really a shame. We were just trying to get some points. It's a shame. It really happened very early on, right at the beginning of the race when I was following Moreno. Just pedal kept getting longer and longer and longer, and finally I had no brakes at all.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
7 to go. Roberto Moreno continues to be the dominant driver in this race, looking for win number 1. I'm assuming with that fast little caution that fuel may have gone out of the picture.
And I assume it has it now. I think everybody's good to go to the end. It's just a matter of how much they can turn it up. We've heard that Moreno's been told that he can crank it all the way up. We know certainly Montoya's got enough fuel to do that. And it appears that Breck, Cristiano, Matta, and Michael Andretti can also do it. We just don't know how hard and how much fuel they can use, but certainly they should all be able to make it to the checkered flag.
You can easily see the interval. Here is first place. Kenny Breck is chasing him.
And historically, this has been the twilight zone time for Cleveland, where strange things happen in the last few laps of this race.
Remember that all of these cars have been tortured on the circuit. The gearboxes, half shafts, constant velocity joints taking the brunt of the torture of constantly bouncing over bumps because, after all, this is firstly an airport. And Franchitti slows finally.
Mate, I think you'll find Max parked down there too.
Turn around, you just park over there and say hello to Max. Dario Franchitti, again one of those that tried to stay with it. But finally he pulls off course. Jan Veikkaus?
Yes, and he called back and said it's gearbox related. So yes, he had handling difficulties, but in the end, it was the gearbox that's put him out.
Well, and therein is the precaution, because Roberto Moreno has been flawless to this point, but several times today we've seen just suddenly a mechanical problem attack and it's over.
And it doesn't have to be the driveline, it can be the radiator hangers, the fittings, anything on the car. Even a very small part can cripple one of these cars, and they take a tremendous beating. Last night walking through the paddock, though, in preparation for this event, the mechanics were fitting new uprights, suspension pieces, new gearbox, half shafts, everything new just for this afternoon.
It's going to be awful tough to take this away from Roberto Moreno. Kenny Breck's going to try and do it. In fact, he inches a little forward on Roberto Moreno, but Moreno's waited so long, I wouldn't want to be the guy to have to try and pass him. Interval first to second. There it is on the pit straight.
To go. Breck's getting a little close.
Jim McGee talks to Roberto Moreno.
And the reason he said that lap, Kenny picked up 1.8 seconds. It was 2.9. He cut it down to 1.1. You can see he's right in the picture now. Obviously filling the mirrors of Roberto Moreno with that yellow shell paint scheme.
If you weren't with us at the beginning, you may not know that there will be a fairly large ceremony that will involve the shaving of a head down in the pit area if he would win this. Jan?
Yes, that's right. We have a whole bunch of people on the Visteon crew very excited except for one. And that would be Bud Bivens, who has agreed with Roberto Moreno that if he wins this race, that this hair is gone. I think after this race, they're going to go back to the transporter and we'll see a bald guy next race.
Better get the shaving cream out.
Yeah, Curly Bud may be in trouble, but Kenny Breck's going to try and rescue him. Breck is still inching in on him.
And Cristiano D'Amata's cutting the interval to Breck as well. This time across line, Kenny Breck, another 10th closer, just over a second. With D'Amata 9/10 behind Kenny Breck.
Breck's second place is not safe either with D'Amata there.
Kenny Breck, last year's Indy 500 champion, looking to improve. He's had one podium finish happen at Nazareth earlier in the year, looking for a second one. He's been quick all year long, but just had a whole series of things go wrong that's kept him out of victory lane. And D'Amata, with his best qualifying of the year in 5th, fell back to 17th, remember, has now worked his way back up into 3rd spot, looking for his first kart podium finish.
15 years, 2 days ago. 15 years and 2 days. Roberto Moreno made his first start in kart. Now, 70 races later, he's looking at the possibility of his very first win.
He pulled out 2/10 of a second on that lap. He's extended to 1.2. Cristiano D'Amata, though, right behind Kenny Breck, only 6/10 back.
You saw Cristiano D'Amata close a bit on Kenny Breck. If they finish this way, Moreno, Breck, D'Amata, it will be the best career finish for all three. And it will keep the points battle for the Kart FedEx Series still extremely tight, with the exception of Moreno, who came into this race as the points leader, and he will pick up the points for winning, single point for leading the most laps, and a single point for the pole. Onto the pit straight, white flag, 2 miles to go for Roberto Moreno. D'Amata drops back off of Breck. Might be looking to take a run on him coming off of here.
I think for all three of these drivers on the last lap, all they want to do is find the finish line. It's a personal best for each. Sure, they'll attack, but they can't afford to make a mistake and throw it away. If D'Amata gets an opportunity, certainly he'll take a run at Kenny Breck, but not at the expense of making a mistake and not ending up on the podium.
Michael Andretti, currently 4th. He'll move into 2nd in that points fight, 22 points behind Roberto Moreno. But Roberto Moreno is the name you want to hear now.
Only 2 corners to go now.
Everything that's been necessary, Roberto's done it. He's probably crying already in that car. He's an extraordinarily emotional man. The final 2 turns, Roberto Moreno turns onto the pit straight, and Roberto Moreno has done it. Finally, in 9 races, 8 different winners, but Roberto Moreno is the king.
So we can get on TV. We need to get in here fast.
And I'm going to just show this thing off.
Hurry up.
We have asked him to try.
So get in here as quick as you can.
Yeah, that's true. We want to talk to him. We've asked him to get around because we're running out of time here. But Roberto Moreno, 3rd first-time winner this year. Celebrate, Bobby!
Good winner.
Our next race from the FedEx Series on ABC Sports will be the Michigan 500 on the 23rd of July.
Okay, don't forget to get up there by the TV deal. You know where to stop. Opposite the players' pit. Do I go in the pit?
Well,
no,
when
you stop at the players' pit, about halfway down.
And we'll have coverage the Molson Indy in 2 weeks. And there's the planned programming for that weekend. New winner, you have no idea where you're going.
Come in the pit lane about halfway down.
Look for Gary Gerald, Roberto.
And what a popular victory with everyone here. You see the photographers, the other crews cheering him on.
Everyone is running down. Crews all up and down the pits have come down to congratulate Roberto Moreno. Roberto Moreno has taken the victory in the Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland. Gary Gerald?
They're pulling the helmet off, trying to get it disconnected. He's still down, obviously, in the cockpit. Tears for Moreno here, and they're having a difficult time. We are almost out of time. Roberto, we only have seconds, Roberto. What is the feeling after all these years to finally have it happen, to experience victory?
Fantastic. It's just a feeling I cannot describe. It's almost as good as when my daughters were born. It's fantastic. 1988 was the last time I raced competitive like this. Formula 3000 was a struggle. Thank you very much, the Vision people. It's fantastic to be part of this great team, and we're growing together. And pretty soon I'll be on my 100% form.
We've got to run. Unfortunately, we're out of time. He comes out a wild